Hello, I am the interstellar mediator, Soul 13, Terra 3, forest monk, university professor, mother and author. Greetings. This is the second action in a series of 12, one action per month for 1 year. There are 3 videos for action 2, 2.1 Life is the norm in space, 2.2 Society's conveyor belts, 2.3 The universal key. These are 3 short presentations that have been composed to prepare you for action 3 and the events of the coming 5 years. I am speaking to the peoples of planet Earth. I am addressing all citizens, men, women, presidents, soldiers, scientists, religious leaders, teachers, workers, housewives, unemployed people. I am speaking to all because this topic deserves your attention and concerns you. I am speaking to you directly. This is a personal message. Let's go back to where we were and to the question, what is the reason why the entire population on Earth clings to this concept of a cosmic emptiness so total that only this tiny molecule that Earth is, in view of the billions of galaxies that make up the universe, would be the unique, viable biotope of such a fertile and prolific life. Together, you and I, let's try to understand why the world's communities cling to a concept so unreasonable and illogical that it makes them lose all common sense, scientific, critical thinking, or mere logic. The old man in the plane from Action 1 represents the human race, that is to say, you. The airplane represents the Earth. The Earth rotates on itself at a speed of 1,000 miles per hour. To get a better estimate, compare this speed to your car's 60 miles per hour. The Earth also revolves around the Sun at 67,000 miles in an hour, while you do 60 in an hour by car. The Sun orbits the center of the Milky Way at 530,000 miles per hour, and the Milky Way navigates at almost 1.5 million miles per hour or 400 miles per second. The entire solar system, Sol 13, the Sun and the planets around it, spirals in the cosmos at a speed of 530,000 miles per hour. Therefore, you should realize something of major importance. Your plane, the only spacecraft you have at the moment, and where you are, the Earth, will never land. It is impossible. Your plane is therefore in full flight and always will be. Your vision is anamorphic. You only see the outside of the plane through distorting filters. You do not know who the other passengers are. You do not quite understand the internal organization of the flight yet. You do not know who the real pilots and co-pilots are. You only know the holds of the plane through myth, and the content of the luggage, your daily news. Your plane is going through a mega zone of turbulence, and you have no idea what it is and what it is due to. In fact, you must admit, you don't really know much, do you? You don't even know you're flying or which direction you're heading. You just know that you are on a journey from birth to death, and you don't even have complete control of this flight either. Obviously, some of you, ego full front, will immediately react by stating they are learned scientists or light beings, that they are interdimensional, that they are vibrations, love, peace, and tutti quanti. But, my friends, the obvious consequence of this interstellar flight is that you can never get out of the plane by landing. The plane, the Earth, will never land. Your ship is on the move, whether you like it or not. You are a passenger there. You are a guest. And it is a very short commercial flight. Now, let's find out together what the inside of the plane looks like. The inner structure, the passengers, the pilots, the organization, the laws. You are inside a pressurized box. It is a model building which offers maximum security for passengers and especially to prevent exits in mid-flight. It is so secure that no one can get out. Like the old man in the plane, passengers were born there. They know nothing but the interior environment of this aircraft. Isolation is total and life is very structured, which forces passengers to scrupulously follow rules and laws which obey this environment of isolation. Inside, there are classes, groups, communities, factions, and gangs. Passengers only enjoy the rights and laws, and the gangs operate in constant competition for power and money. These gangs operate in the shadows, and they are the masters of the organization. They pull all the strings, and to keep the passengers under their control, they divide or pit them against each other. White people against black people, men against women, younger generations against older generations, citizens against their governments, Hispanics against Chinese, Americans against Russians, homophobia, racism, discriminations, wars, terrorism, pandemics, drugs, misery are raging there. And religious communities kill each other in black wars. Scientific communities and peoples do so as well for ideology and lengthy and devastating competitions. The violence which rages there, the requirements of submission to a profit-making and impersonal organization, the need to escape from the dangers of daily life, domination and cruelty, lead the passengers, who are not really aware of it, to develop a disease called PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, making them behave like prisoners on death row, paralyzed by fear. Under the yoke of fear, the main symptom, which is duality, became the way of life of countless generations after generations, and of people accepting without question, by consensus and by tradition. One day, some factions announced that for the well-being of the passengers, they were going to create a theater inside the plane. They called it the theater of life. All the passengers were so delighted, especially since they could access the internet, the mobile phones, their cherished social networks, home automation, and artificial intelligences. Despite all this progress, life inside the plane continued to be routine. You're born, you learn, you adapt, you evolve, you obey, you have fun, you love, you get old, and you die. That's it. Period. At the time of birth, your right to buy your ticket to enter the theater is celebrated. It is indeed a high privilege which has a right of life and death over you. The cashier spins the cash drawer and pockets your money. Passengers enter the theater and sit in numbered and reserved seats. They watch their favorite shows, alone, with family or with friends. Others participate as actors because there are many opportunities: education, science, religion, culture, technology, politics, nature, space, and ufology. The most revered agendas and programs are religious programs and those about the space conquest, which presents space as an interstellar vacuum so that you really appreciate being alive on Earth, something infinitely exceptional, a privilege which you are indebted, given the unique situation on Earth, to display life in this immense universe presented as icy and lifeless. And to corroborate these facts, the owners of the theater have set up specialized agencies which demonstrate that such is the situation by using giant telescopes directed towards the infinity of space, and to which they alone, of course, have access through a breach in the cockpit. And most passengers accept this situation since they are too busy working day and night to pay for their entry ticket. Many don't have any interest nor the courage to question what is narrated, or they firmly believe that this is life, because they are told since birth that that's what it is, and even by science. So if scientists say it, it is true. And then again, it is better not to make any waves, as people may lose their jobs. So no one is paying attention, really. Space, interstellar races, aliens, it's considered superfluous and silly. It's nonsense, as the most educated say. Life with the internet, social medias, fantastic discoveries, and everything that fosters personal pleasure has made life more bearable, but truly, deeply ignorant of the real facts. Each year and until the end of their lives, passengers will renew the yearly payment for the theater at the cost of hard work and few rights. This payment is called income taxes. Passengers who cannot pay for the ticket stay outside the theater. They die of hunger, misery, isolation, drugs, violence, sexual abuse, domination, and everything you know. During the show, and while everyone is busy discussing the few small ionized lights of a UFO seen in a sky clogged with metallic particles, the money collected by the cashier is transferred to unknown accounts behind the scenes, and some factions, more on top than others, set up the construction of spaceships with very advanced propulsion systems and technologies that would exceed your imagination even today. The most awe-inspiring spectacle that everyone loves and which is enjoying worldwide success is called the space conquest. It is at the top 4, just before the religious program often watched on Sundays, the scientific programs offered in documentaries, or the night pornographic programs. The space conquest programs offer a number of movies and shows, such as Star Trek, with combustion rockets so frail that no one would fly with them beyond 250 miles in space. Extraterrestrials are very successful, and there is something for everyone. The inner Earth, the flat Earth, green, grey or white aliens, and the cashier's money coming and going with losses and lots of profits is used for all kinds of programs at the expenses of the taxpayers' mental, psychological, spiritual and economic health. Meanwhile, the old man, the one who had slipped into first class and reached a new divine status, the old man returned to eco-class and proclaimed to anyone who wanted to hear it that he had had a revelation. He presented the idea, oh so absurd, that he had had telepathic contact with beings of light who were, of course, none others than the angels of his God. He said that he was now absolutely convinced that there was an outside to the plane. The greatest analyst of his world, shocked but venerating his words, immediately set to work and realized with figures elaborate scientific equations or very advanced statistical formulas that it was logic itself. Of course, how come they never thought of it? How silly! If there was an inside to the plane, there must have been an outside as well, right? They called these two opposite or complementary environments interior and exterior, inner and outer, paradise and hell, yin and yang, Dal and Dern, the negative and positive aspects of Tory, or presented models still very controversial like the twin universe or the universe anti-universe soap cluster. They all grouped together in poles of interest around apprentice shamans or in groups of gurus, scholar scientists, mystics, metaphysics, esoterics and ufologists. They all learned telepathy, and they too began to experience mental downloads and contacts from other worlds. Expert ufologists among them analyzed the elements at their disposal, extracted from secret military databases, and their analysis became official evidence. Everyone was certain now that there was indeed parallel worlds, inexplicable synchronicities, brands, and multiverses. Many decades passed, and after endless research and thanks to the craziest or most courageous passengers who created an exit in the roof and dared to dive into the great unknown, the deep void, the abyss, they discovered their outdoor environment with amazement. The first thing they saw in a rather blurred vision, similar to a shaky mirage, was a flat, shiny expanse, something like a mirror. They understood later that it was a body of water above which was hanging a long, futuristic bridge colored in red. On the other bank of that expanse of water, a magnificent city was sparkling with lights, alive and teeming with life. They called it the etheric city of Francis because it seemed to float above water. After exiting the space they were living in, they finally reached the city. They turned around and saw what they had finally freed themselves of. In a distance and across the body of water, on the backside, in the middle of a tiny island, only 2 miles away, there was a high security prison building called Alcatraz. Us cannot land. You can only free yourself.